Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, moni muli wanji, namaste, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so honored that you are part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. You've joined us to help inspire families to read more together, thus helping them grow closer together. Thank you so very much. Our guest today is Ruth Maille. She's here to celebrate the power of positivity, the ABCs of a pandemic, which just happens to be a Reading with Your Kids certified great read. Before we invite Ruth in, we want to invite you to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com, where you can learn more about our Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read program. Now, our panel of teachers, parents, and kids thought that the power of positivity, the ABCs of a pandemic, was worthy of 5 stars, and it became a certified great read. If you are the author of a great children's book, you want to check this program out because it can really help your book stand out from the crowd of books that are published every single month. Do you realize there are literally thousands of books published every single month? Really, really hard to get people to notice your book, to get your book to stand out from all of those other books that are out there. And now, if you're a parent, you absolutely want to go and visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. You want to sign up for our newsletter, and you also want to check out our Certified Great Read Wall of Fame. That way, you know all the books that are listed there are worthy of your attention and consideration. It could be the next great book that you add to your family library. You can discover it all at our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Joining us right now from beautiful Bristol and the state of Rhode Island, she is here to celebrate a Reading with Your Kids certified great read called The Power of Positivity, the ABCs of a Pandemic. Please welcome to the show, Ruth Maille. Ruth, how are you?
Thank you. Hello. I am great. How are you?
Wonderful. Really excited that you're on our Certified Great Read program. We have teachers, kids, and parents, and if they believe that a book is worthy of 4 or 5 out of 5 stars, it becomes a certified great read, and everybody was in agreement. Positivity of a Pandemic got 5 stars all around, so congratulations.
Thank you so much. This is an honor.
Yeah. So Ruth was telling me that she operates a daycare center. I'm imagining that that's kind of where the inspiration for your book came from.
Yes, it did. During the time that we were out, we had to shut down for those couple of months. I was doing Zooms with my kids every day, and they looked really sad. And this one Friday, I asked them, you know, what are you guys doing for the weekend? And they all had this gloom on their face, like we can't do anything, you know, the corona's out there. And so I started to spin it because I tend to live my life in a positive way. And so even during the ups and downs, I always look at what is the lesson in this. And so I started to spin it for them and showing them different things that they could do this weekend with their families. And, you know, like taking a walk, looking for the teddy bears. And then it perked them up a little bit, but when I went to bed that night, I was thinking about it, and it really made me sad to think these kids were so stressed out over this, that they didn't know what the unknown was, like us adults, but yet we maybe can manage it a little bit better than they can. They didn't know what questions to ask. So I started writing all the positive things that I could find that were happening in the world. And lo and behold, the power of positivity, the ABCs of a Pandemic, was born.
That's wonderful. You know, this is something, and I've mentioned it a few times here on the podcast and talking to authors that have written pandemic-related books. And when the pandemic first hit, and we're only going to be out for 2 weeks, and it's going to be kind of taking care of this, and then we'll be back to normal. When that was obvious that wasn't going to happen, I started to receive emails from authors who were writing books about the pandemic. And my first thought back in the spring of 2020 was, how relevant is this going to be in 4 months from now? But I'm looking at it as a way right now that even if somehow or another somebody waved a magic wand and the virus disappeared tomorrow, we're going to be dealing with the fallout from the pandemic for years.
Yes.
Your kids are 3, 4, and 5 years old.
Yeah.
And so when you think about it, they've been locked down just about a year right now. And so it's hard on us. Now, for me, I'm almost 100 years old. That means that I've lived, 1% of my life locked up.
Yeah.
But your 3-year-olds, your 4 years old, they've lived a quarter of their young lives has been spent in lockdown.
Yes.
That's really hard to get my head around. And that's going to take a long time for them to kind of process.
Yes, I mean all the mental health that's being dug up from all of this is incredible. Kids will say to me now, what's going to happen tomorrow, and we still don't know. But this book, what I've found, people have said to me, is that it opens up the line of communication. It gives children something to look forward to. It's a book of hope. That, we will survive this. Yes, it was terrible. Yes, it was difficult. And years down the road, history books are going to be writing about this. This is going to be in the classrooms. And I want those kids to be able to pull this book out because I think it can be a keepsake. Pull it out of, a box and bring it into school and say, but you know what? This is the good stuff that happened. This is the kindness that people showed. This is how the essential workers stepped up to the plate and did their job. This is how teachers learned a whole new way of learning and how parents had to juggle not only, their work, but virtual learning and little children at home and questions about why they can't see their grandparents. So it's going to stay for a long, long time. And I'm hoping that my book will inspire the kids to look at it in a positive way, inspire them to be more kind, to appreciate the world that we live in.
Yeah. You were mentioning that you're a person who tends to look at things in a positive way. And that's part of my personality as well. I want to talk to you about where do you think that comes from. But before I do, I have to ask you, do people get annoyed with you sometimes that you're always so positive? Does that kind of annoy people?
I don't think so. Nobody ever complains about it. But I will say, and this is probably going to sound silly, but I will say that a big part of it is when I was little, I watched Mr. Rogers. And he's always positive. And, we can learn from both the positive and the negative. So I just tend to look at it and say, okay, what's the gift in this? If we could just look at it, even with children, when I'm working my daycare and my preschool, I will say to my kids, well, what's the reason why you did that? If they did something, took a toy from somebody or whatever. Because I look at it as they're not misbehaving, they just don't have the right words to say what they want. So I think that being positive definitely can bring light to some people. And when you're around positive people, you tend to be more positive. So nobody's ever said don't be positive, Ruth. But, that's how I try to live my life. And hopefully I can bring some sunshine to somebody.
Yeah. No one's ever told me not to be positive, but they have said, oh, you're always such... Don't you ever... Come on now. Yeah. Okay. But I need to be angry for a minute. All right. Give me that positive stuff in a little while, but let me just be angry for the moment. I love what you just said, that question. Ask yourself, what's the gift in this experience? What can I find? What can I take out of this moment that is positive that I can learn from?
And a lot of the people that I've given the book to, and they've said to me, or even just in passing, one of my daycare dads said, if this pandemic hadn't happened, I wouldn't have seen my child walk for the first time. What a gift, right? Mm-hmm. I have another grandparent that Zoomed every single night with one of her grandchildren. One of her grandchildren every single night. She made a point of Zooming with them because she could not see them. Mm-hmm. That's a gift. And so I don't know. I just think that if you try to look at the world in more of a how can we appreciate this gift, I think that goes back out to everybody. Mm-hmm. That just feeds, and I think that's what the world really needs. Yeah. It needs more kindness. It needs more love. It needs more positivity. It needs, more empowerment. Kids need to be able to take on. I mean, I'm also a parent coach. I went to school to be a relationships coach. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of what I use, I combine all of it. I've been a daycare provider and preschool teacher for 30 years. My kids are adults now. But I still love it from the day I was first started it. And that's because I bring all of this to it. It's not just, okay, let's teach them the ABCs or the numbers. It's teaching them how to live and being great human beings as adults.
Yeah. What do you think is the key to being successful doing that, helping kids learn how to be great friends and grow up to be great adults?
Well, I think that it gives the children some tools in their toolbox to be able to maneuver all kinds of relationships. So when they go to school, first, this is a very small environment. It's an in-home family daycare. And I try to provide them with opportunities for them to empower themselves. They help out. They pass out lunches. They do things like that. And believe it or not, when kids have boundaries, it's important for them to have boundaries because they know what it is they can and cannot do. And when they don't have the boundaries, they're lost. They like boundaries. As much as us parents think, oh, no, I don't want to give them those boundaries, it really is important to give them boundaries. So my kids go off to school and they at least have some tools. When somebody's taking something from them or yelling at them, they know, okay, I'm going to take some 3 deep breaths and get into my conscious choice and decide if I'm going to fight with this person or not. So they have these tools, and I think that they make better friends. Yeah. They can be better friends. And I also think it helps with parents. I had a parent that, she was having a really rough week one week. And, I had this other book that I would give the kids, and the little girl went over to get the book from the child, to the mom and said, I think you need to read this book. We need to take some breaths here because it's been a rough week. And that's her using her tools to say, Mom, we need to stop. Let's sit down. Let's cuddle. Let's talk. So I just think that it gives the kids tools to be able to make the right choices.
Yeah. I love that. Earlier you were talking about empowering kids, and I don't think a lot of us think of 4 and 5-year-olds needing to be empowered, but they do. Mm-hmm. How important is it? Why is it important? And how can we best empower our kids?
It's important because that gives them their self-worth. Like they look at it as, wow, if she trusts me to do something, that makes me feel good. So it builds their confidence. And, it's funny. Over the 30 years, so one of the special things about my book is that every child in that book, whether it be an adult in the book or a child, is a past or present daycare child that has been in my daycare. So for 30 years, I chose different kids and I did that for a specific reason. Some of the kids, represent the page that they're on. It was my way of giving back to them because I truly believe that children have a voice. And most of the time, our lives are so busy that we don't always hear them. And so this was my way of honoring them because I feel like I have learned as much from them as they have learned from me. This book wouldn't be born. It wouldn't have happened had it not been that day on that Zoom. I owe it to those children because they're the ones. We're working on my second book right now. It's about kindness. The mascot is an actual mascot that I had made in the Netherlands, and he is going to go to book signings with me so the kids can actually meet him. And the second book is about kindness, and Orbit is the focus of it. He's the earth, and he's the focus in the book. And one of the things I said to the kids was, what do you think of our different ways of being kind? And one of my little girls said, well, it was really kind when my grandparents came down and babysat us so my mom and dad could have a date night. This is a 3 and 4-year-old that think that way. So they've got so much in their brains that they want to share, and they're innocent. You know, they don't look at the world the way we do as adults.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They look at the world with everything is a good place, you know, in most cases.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things you just reminded me of, I've traveled around the country for 30 years. When you started your daycare, I started going around doing educational magic shows at schools. And one of the things that I love to do is to pass out little green beads. And I tell the kids, we're going to do something magical with them. But while you're holding on to them, I want you to think about something that you were thankful for. It can be anything at all. And I remember when we came up with the routine, my son was in middle school at the time, and he said, "Oh, Poppy, you're opening up a can of worms. Can you imagine asking an eighth grader what he's thankful for? You never know what he..." Well, 99.999 responses have been positive. Nothing has been a nightmare. But there was this one little girl, and I asked her what she was thankful for. And she said, she blew me away. She said, "I'm thankful that I am able to help other people."
Mm-hmm.
And that's an insight. And I think kids, real young kids, they kind of see the world in a way that we would really benefit if we can kind of take their point of view sometimes.
Mm-hmm. We can just put a different pair of glasses on. We can actually see the goodness in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that most people, they do gravitate towards the negative because they're always thinking, "Oh, well, this just happened to me. That just happened to me." Kids don't do that. They get up and they start all over again. And when you can understand them, when you give them, one of the keys is giving them the space to be able to feel safe enough to share that. So when somebody says to them, you know, "Oh, I think that kindness, you know, what that little girl said," they're not squashing that idea, right? They're encouraging it. Yes, you're absolutely right. And if you continue to feed them little ideas of like, well, how do you think kindness lays in your life? What did you do today to be kind? One of the things that I'm going to put at the back of the book is I'm going to give them a challenge. You know, can you do 30 days of being kind to somebody? Every day, a different kindness thing. Imagine how that would spread to the world. And to know that they're doing that from their hearts empowers them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know that there's somebody out there that's listening to this, and they're thinking to themselves, "I love my kids. I adore my kids. But sometimes they drive me crazy, and I can't imagine doing this for 30 years, spending my day with 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds. How do you do it?"
Well, my philosophy on that is we all have gifts. And I could never be a nurse with blood and guts. I could never be a truck driver because I can't be by myself. So this is my gift. My gift is helping parents to raise their children. And up until a couple of years ago, I used to think, what am I going to do when I retire? And it's funny when things fall into your lap. I have the answer. It's continuing writing books to still inspire children in their ways of life. So I still love it every day. Don't get me wrong. There are times when, you know, I change more poopy diapers than the most. And it can get tiresome. But to see the joy and the love on their faces, to get the hugs and to see a child struggle with something and then all of a sudden master it, you know, to see them really work hard and accomplish whatever they were set out to do. When a child doesn't know how to put a puzzle together and all of a sudden one day he puts a 24-piece puzzle together, it's a big accomplishment. And we celebrate those things. And that's, I think, what keeps me in this frame of mind, you know, is the love that I get and the support from the parents.
That's wonderful. Ruth, tell everybody where they can find out more about the power of positivity and the ABCs of the pandemic and be able to find out when your new book is available.
So it's on Amazon, and there's also a Spanish version that I translated with my Spanish exchange student from years ago that's part of our family. There's also a coloring book and an activity book, and all of those are on Amazon. But I also have my website, and my website has all of the books along with some other merchandise. One of the things that's coming out is an actual plush of Orbit, which the kids are really excited about. And I also have in my website, if you log on to my website and you give me your email address, you'll get all the updated information on anything from the new books coming out to freebies. I'm just sending out a Valentine's Day. I took all of my illustrations, made little Valentines for kids, and I'm sending those out free to anybody that's on my email list. So www.ruthmaille-author.com.
Excellent. Well, we've had a great time speaking to the author of The Power of Positivity, the ABCs of a Pandemic, and the author has been our guest, Ruth Maille. Ruth, thank you so very much for being part of the show.
Thank you so much, Jed. One more thing. If they order off of my website, I will personalize it so they can personalize it for their child, and I will also send them a special token of my appreciation, which is tattoos.
Awesome.
So, of Orbit.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ruth.
Thank you, Jed. Have a great day.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Jenica Ingram. She'll be here to celebrate the Mom's Turn Journal. Really, really interesting conversation that you don't want to miss. Again, if you are the author of a great children's book, you want to check out our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the Authors Click Here button at the top of the page. Scroll on down. You can find out how you can be a guest on the show. You can also find out about our Certified Great Read program. That's readingwithyourkids.com. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, I want to start by thanking our guest, Ruth Maille. Be sure to check out The Power of Positivity, the ABCs of a Pandemic. Also want to thank my team, starting with Alejandra Doherty, Fatima Khan, our amazing interns, Alexia Brown, Hannah Pat Oboyski. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.